Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about the power of breath control for singers. And how does that work? How do you practice it? Is it about taking more air? Or is it about utilizing your air? Okay, spoiler alert, you know what? I can't ask these rhetorical questions. Okay, so what is breath control? Breath control is essentially utilizing the air that you have efficiently. Now, I am not a big person. A lot of singers have big heads, big bodies, and all this. I'm not that kind of singer. I'm very lean. As a result, I don't think I have as much capacity, but that doesn't matter. If you're a lean, lanky person like I am, you can still make very, very long phrases because you can have perfect efficiency. And likewise, if you have a big body with a ton of, lung capacity, maybe you're not using your air as efficiently as you could. So this could help everybody from all walks. Essentially, you have to learn how to phonate because this is your valve. Your chords are like two lips, essentially, like this, coming together and resisting the air. That's literally what they're made to do. Weightlifters, they have like these belts or whatever that support their bodies. You can literally do that with your air pressure. In fact, if you close the valve on top, your throat or your vocal cords, they will actually create internal pressure from below. Muscles that create exhalation of air will actually contain that pressure and create an internal support. So doing this creates actually like internal pressure that will support your body and your spine. But obviously you don't want to go that far when singing. However, the mechanics of that are kind of what we use in singing for support. It's a combination of closure of chords and pressure from below. So that's really that balance is really how you utilize your air most efficiently. So we have little valving happening. I like to catch air with chords. You can do this in two ways. I have, I call it hard attack, with no aspiration, or soft attack with aspiration, ha, 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 ha. The second one is a little easier because it trains you to also release the voice. It's a kind of a counterintuitive thing where you are controlling closure of chords, and in a way you're kind of stopping the air, but you're not entirely stopping the air. You're only slowing the flow of air. Like air still has to go out, and that's the air you sing on. Ha, 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 ha. I am in control of phonation. To some extent, you can control phonation. So this is really what breath control is all about, is utilizing the air you have extremely efficiently. So I can take a relatively short breath. And I can go on and on and on and on. Because I know how to control the valve, and the valve does require pressure. So the other aspect to that is sending air. It's counterintuitive, but in order to utilize your air most efficiently, in other words, not lose your air, you actually have to use air. So combination of closing here and catching breath pressure from below. And so what is the other half of that is any one of those three things. I prefer, if you want to train this, I prefer, in fact, S. And if you feel your midsection while you're doing S, what I do, you'll notice expansion happening here. Because what's happening is I'm creating stoppage point with the S, and that's catching pressure. And then I'm applying pressure from below. And what's happening is muscles that create expiration of air are competing with closure here. Now, in the case of singing, closure is happening here with chords, and that's your primary valve. Let's say, you get other points of sort of passive resistance, in your resonators, inside here. Those can serve to catch a little bit of pressure as well, but the primary valve is right here. So you need to lean against with your air. So again, it's muscles of expiration, exhalation, combined with closure. Closure of chords, closure of lips, or of teeth, anything. So I would say practice on an S for 10 seconds. And let it go. Do that several times. This will warm up your body. This will warm up these muscles of support. And then the second step to that is really adding voice. You can do this in 3 different ways, I would say. What I just mentioned, the hard attack. This is closure, closure, closure. Like putting the needle on a record. And again, you can do the soft attack. Ha, 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 which I love. Actually, if you're warming up and if you're new to this concept, the soft attack is really probably the best way to go. Ha, 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 ha. It's gentle. There's relatively little tension in the chords compared to the hard attack. So it's a little more friendly and it trains the release and it gets breath going. So it gets a little bit more engagement from the body. That would be my number one recommendation. And then the third way of training phonation, closure of chords, is vocal fry. Which is just like gravel. Now you have to be careful. This still needs to be free. It still needs to be released. You mustn't do this with extra muscles of the throat, for example. I hear a lot in students this. Even trained singers, it's incredible. But you really don't want to. You don't want to do anything extraneous. You want to keep it as simple as possible so that you're using very fine muscles of the larynx. It's this, right? And there's no pitch. And the idea, if you're training to sing in this way, if you're training to sing with really excellent phonation, which everybody should do, you want to take this no pitch, relaxed vocal fry into singing, into pitch. So I would do you hear how one kind of feeds into the other. It's because they're both based on phonation. They're both based on closure of chords. So all I'm doing is I'm sort of revving it up into the pitch. I'm getting more vibration. So and I check in with vocal fry like that. Okay? And so there, as you practice your phonation skill, you can start to bring it into pitch. I go between fry and pitch and fry and pitch and fry. Now, very important. We're training a different thing here, but very important that your fry is relaxed. Like I said, it's relaxed. You're not doing anything additional. You're letting it relax. All you're doing is you're focusing on practicing that closure, practicing phonation of chords. This is your valve. So between application of pressure, between exercising these muscles of support, muscles in your body, okay? This is, and you have the expansion here at your solar plexus. This is when I say sing from the diaphragm, when I talk about singing from the diaphragm, is because it feels like it's coming from your diaphragm, because it literally expands right there at your solar plexus. In fact, the muscles of exhalation are more muscles of the abdomen, and actually really not so much your diaphragm. But for the sake of simplicity, we can say from the diaphragm, because that's where you feel it. So between combination of pressure and closure of chords, now you get used to making closure in chords. Again, still not in heavy way, not in you find where those chords meet in a way that's relaxed. That is catching a little bit pressure from below. Pressure is pressure. It's closure happening here. Okay, good. Now we've done that. I should talk about the comment came from Video Here Bob. And he said he wants to suggest a video on how to start on a high note. It sounds like right out of the gate you have to sing high notes, like in the song Africa. But yeah, how do you do that? So, to start on a high note, to start on any note, really, like you have to kind of in your mind, and this requires some practice, I'm sure, you have to go there first mentally and actually set yourself up physically. So for me, a high note would be F, I suppose. Up here. So, like in order to hit the note, you have to already be in the position to hit the note. It's kind of like when you play the piano. They say when you study piano, and this is probably true in other instruments, before you can play the note, your finger has to be on it. So all my fingers are already over those notes. And if you're going to go and play an octave above, as soon as I play, I move my hand already to the next position before I have to play those notes. That's maybe a bad example. But anyway, it's the same idea. If you have to sing a high note straight off the bat, your body has to be ready to do it, right? You have to set up already everything in the position to do it. I just happen to be there, because I know where that is. So, for me, I've been doing this a long time. It's possible. You need to practice enough that you can, your body already knows where you need to be. The voice and everything knows where it needs to be. But in fact, the voice knows where it needs to be. You don't need to kind of tell it. You actually need to listen more than you tell. So like when I'm practicing, a big thing for me is like practicing release, keeping it light. Because, especially, I don't know, I think as a man, I tend to like, I am macho, I am low voice, haha, I did this. I kind of sang like that for a long, not literally, but I kind of sang in macho way for, a long time. And that's not really the way to go. You don't want to tell your voice what to do. You want to listen to your voice and do what the voice is telling you, because the voice wants to, it wants to be optimal. It doesn't want to be held. You want to be as released and as free and easy as possible. So that's what these exercises are always about. I talk about controlling various processes, but it's always a give and take of control and release. You're controlling some things, you're releasing other things. My great realization came, I don't know, a decade or more ago when I realized really you're in control of your voice because you're in control of your air. And so what you want to do as much as possible is release the voice, control the air. You're just an air machine, and then eventually you connect your voice to that. And as much as possible, you're just letting the voice kind of ride the air, and you can be very forceful with your air, the air all day long, be that. But voice, no, let this do kind of what it wants to do. That said, you can manipulate a little bit. And so for the purpose of training, I think it is useful to train phonation, to train closure of chords. You just have to be careful that you also have to learn how to release. You also have to learn how to not overdo, okay? And I know this from experience, I've done it. You need to learn how to be a listener to your voice, to your body, Let your body tell you what it wants to do. So the voice wants to go high. I don't want to go, I don't want to tell it oh no, you must be down. No, just let it go where it wants to go and try to find that optimal balance of where can I phonate, where can I control this, but where it's not held and fatiguing and limiting the quality. So there you go. I hope that helps. And thank you again for your comment. If you want to get in touch, check out my website, The Singer's Gym. I'm offering a free trial right now for my group coaching program, and you can check me out there. You can book a call, we can talk, and yeah, man, that's it. Peace. Enjoy.